Good evening. My name is Christy Savakinis, and I am the Director of Technology at Pittston Area School District. I would like to welcome everyone to our virtual school board reorganization meeting for December 3rd, 2020. Attendees tonight include the Board of Education members, our Superintendent, Mr. Kevin Booth, Business Manager, Mr. Al Malone, Solicitor, Attorney Samuel Falcone, and Magistrate Alexandra Kakura. Also attending are members of the district administrative team and our board secretary, Mrs. Dawn Licata. Mrs. Licata will be available to field questions for those attending via the live stream available from the Pittston Area School District website. For those of you attending live, please note there is a link available on the website to download and view tonight's agenda. The agenda will not be shown during the live stream, so we can focus on the board members as they present the agenda. At any point in time during the meeting, you can direct questions by emailing Mrs. Licata at dawn.licata@pittstonarea.com. Mrs. Licata's email address can also be found on the homepage of the Pittston Area School District website, www.pittstonarea.com. I would like to start the meeting showcasing our fourth grade teachers as they present the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise and join in with them.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
Text them and just ask them, drop it on my side or their side or what?
Dr. Frank Serino. Thank you.
Dr. Serino, you're up.
We're good now?
Yep.
Is the meeting up?
Yeah, you can start a roll call.
Okay. This is a roll call for the Pittston Area School District Reorganization Meeting Thursday, December 3rd at 6 p.m. Roll call, John Anizio. Don, you want to call?
Mr. Anizio, you're muted.
Present.
Don, you're muted.
Thanks, Dr. Cooper. Mr. Nizio, present. Dr. Cooper,
I'm here.
Mr. Crawford,
Here.
Mr. Knick,
Here.
Mr. Lawler,
Here.
Mr. Quinn,
Here.
Ms. Ricotta,
Here.
Mr. Salvo,
Here.
and Dr. Serino.
Here.
There's the notice for the proof of publication that was received and accepted and placed on file.
Thank you. Motion?
Motion, Mr. Anizio.
Second.
Mr. Lawler.
Mr. Anizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta,
Yes.
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
and Dr. Serino.
Yes.
At this time, I'll read the list of legally elected and qualified members of this board. Mr. John Anizio, Dr. Lori Cooper, Mr. Michael Crawford, Mr. Bruce Knick, Mr. Frank Lawler, Mr. Martin Quinn, Ms. Roseanne Rakota, Mr. Joseph Salvo, and Dr. Frank Sereno.
We will now go into the business of organizing for the coming year. The election of a temporary president is now in order.
I'll nominate Dr. Sereno.
Second.
Second, Mr. Knick.
Mr. Anizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Rakota,
Yes.
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
and Dr. Sereno.
Yes. Nominations are now in order for president for the ensuing school year. Nominations?
Mr.
Vice
Anisio, I
President,
nominate
Dr.
Dr. Sereno.
Second.
Mr. Anizio nominated Dr. Sereno, seconded by,
I second the nomination.
Any other nominees? If not, we'll close the nominations. And then the motion is, need a motion that Dr. Sereno be nominated president of the school board for the coming year. Motion?
Motion, Mr. Salvo. Second, Mr. Lawler.
Mr. Anizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Rakota,
Yes.
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
and Dr. Sereno.
Yes. And a motion that Dr. Sereno be elected president of the school board for the coming year. Motion?
Motion,
Motion,
Mr.
Marty Quinn.
Anisio.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Anizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Rakota,
Yes.
Mr. Salvo, Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
and Dr. Sereno.
Yes. I'll now look for nominations of vice president for the coming year. Nomination are now
I
in order
nominate
for the office of
Dr.
vice. Sorry.
I
Nomination.
nominate Joe Salvo.
Second, Mr. Knick.
Any other nominations? If not, we'll close the nominations with roll call.
Mr. Anizio,
need a motion to close.
Motion,
Motion to
Mr.
close.
Anisio.
Second, Mr. Lawler.
Mr. Anizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Rakota,
Yes.
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
and Dr. Sereno.
Yes. And the motion that Joe Sal will be elected vice president of the school board for the coming year.
Motion, Mr. Anisio.
Second, Marty Quinn.
Mr. Anizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Rakota,
yes,
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
and Dr. Sereno.
Yes.
At this time, District Magistrate Alexander Krakouris Kravitz will administer the oath to the President and Vice President of the Board.
Dr. Sereno, Mr. Salvo, would you please stand and raise your right hands? Please kindly repeat after me. I,
I,
Dr. Frank Sereno,
Dr. Frank Sereno,
and Mr. Joseph Salvo,
Mr. Joseph Salvo,
do solemnly swear or affirm
solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support and defend
I will support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
Constitution States,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and that I will discharge the duties of my offices
I will discharge the duties of my offices
I will discharge the duties of my office
as President
as President
and Vice President
as Vice President
of the Pittston Area School Board
of the Pittston Area School Board
Pittston Area School Board
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
So help me God. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right, I need a motion that the rules now in effect in the Pittston Area School District be continued in force for the coming year, and that Robert's Rules of Parliamentary Procedure be followed in conducting board meetings. Motion?
Motion, Marty Quinn.
Second, Lori Cooper.
Mr. Anizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Rakota,
yes,
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
and Dr. Sereno.
Yes. A motion that the public work sessions and regular meetings of this board be held on the third Tuesday of each month at 6 PM, except where noted. The library of the Pittston Area Senior High School, Yatesville, Pittston, PA, and that the secretary be authorized to advertise the facts. Motion?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Anizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Rakota,
yes,
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
and Dr. Sereno.
Yes. Now entertain a motion that Bruce Knick be appointed to serve a 3-year term at Pittston Area Representative to the Wilkes-Barre Area Career and Technical School Board of Education Joint Operating Committee, which will expire December 2023. Motion?
Motion, Marty Quinn.
Second. Mr. Salvo.
Mr. Anizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Rakota,
yes,
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
and Dr. Sereno.
Yes. Now entertain a motion that Dr. Cooper be appointed legislative chairperson, Pennsylvania School Board Representative for the 2021 school year.
motion,
Motion?
Second. Mr. Salvo.
Mr. Anizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Rakota,
yes,
Mr. Salvo, Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
and Dr. Sereno.
Yes. I'll now entertain a motion that Dr. Sereno be designated as board overseer for the school district's purchasing policy. Motion?
Motion. Second, Mr. Lawler.
Mr. Anizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Rakota,
yes,
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
and Dr. Sereno.
Yes. Now entertain a motion that Joe Salvo be designated as board overseer for the school district purchasing policy. Motion?
Motion, Mr. Agnizio.
Second, Marty Quinn.
Mr. Anizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Rakota,
yes,
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
and Dr. Sereno.
Yes. A motion that Kevin Booth be appointed as employee relations contact for the Pennsylvania School Board Association for the 2020-2021 school year. Motion?
Motion, Mr.
Motion,
Salvo.
Marty Quinn.
Second,
second,
Mr. Anizio,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Dr. Cooper, Dr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Knick,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Rakota,
yes,
Mr. Salvo, Mr. Salvo, Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
and Dr. Sereno.
Yes. Is there any new business from the board?
I want to congratulate everybody that was appointed tonight. Marty Quinn.
I'd like to do the same, Frank Lawler.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone, obviously, for your support and your confidence in doing what the job ahead of us. But I need to also say, I'm very proud to be part of this Board of Education. We spent a lot of hours discussing and trying to figure out the right things to do. And it's, I got to say, a lot of the results that we're getting are positive because of the varying different views of the board members that are here. And through appropriate conversation and discussions, I believe we are coming up with the appropriate solutions to the issues that we're facing. And I look forward to working with this board as we go forth in this year.
I also would like to thank everybody for their support. And I really enjoy working with this Board of Education. I think we're a great board. We're doing a fine job. We just got to keep doing what we're doing. I don't think we're making too many mistakes. Like I said, I really appreciate sitting with all you people.
Anyone else? Any public input? Kevin,
There isn't any. There's none.
thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Doc, we need to put the next board meeting before you adjourn there.
Oh, okay, go ahead. You got the information there? Go ahead.
The next scheduled board meeting for the Pittston Area School District Board of Directors will be held on December 17th, on Thursday. I believe it's Thursday the 17th as opposed to Tuesday. So that is a change upcoming. We're moving the meeting from the 15th to the 17th. Now we could have a motion to adjourn.
Motion,
I'll
Mr.
make that
Agnizio.
motion.
I think we're all in favor